Breaking news, a massive global tech issue bringing flights and businesses to a standstill. We are learning this outage is linked to an issue with a security patch pushed out to computers. And that failure has now grounded flights around the globe. It's forced major carriers like Delta and United to issue ground stops. It is also impacting banks, broadcasters, hospitals, and crashing 911 lines. Let's get the latest from NBC's Guad Venegas at Atlanta's International Airport. And NBC News tech and data correspondent Brian Chung tracking developments from here in New York. Guad, talk to us about these massive airport impacts. What's it like there in Atlanta this morning?
Anna, it appears that the issue is affecting airlines in different ways, right? So we arrived this morning. There was a lot of confusion. Some passengers said everything seemed normal until they arrived, only to find out that their flight was either canceled or delayed. You can see the United counter behind me. All day, the screens have been off. There's something that says recovery. I asked the employees, and they said, yes, this is part of what we're dealing with. Down on the other end, American shows nearly half of their flights either delayed or canceled. But here, the airline that seems to be affected the most is Spirit. There is a line that goes around the counter, maybe 200 yards on the other side of the terminal. I spoke to someone earlier today who said she arrived at 5 a.m., early enough to check in a bag and get on her flight. She was in line for 4 hours. We spoke when she was right over there. Finally, she walked around and she's checking in. She doesn't know what's going to happen. But again, a lot of flights delayed, other canceled. We did speak to airport authorities who say it's the airlines that are experiencing these issues and not the airport. Let's hear from the spokesperson.
So the systems that we have here at the airport have not been impacted. Our operations, our airfield, our airside, everything is normal. But as you can see, even for Atlanta, this is a busy day. So we're helping our airline partners to make sure that any challenges their passengers are faced are being mitigated. So the challenges that are being faced nationwide by this, impacting here at Atlanta. So this, I guess, would be the equivalent of, say, a substantial storm maybe in the Northeast, which would probably see delays and impacts here in Atlanta.
Now, again, these delays and cancellations have to do apparently with a system that the airline uses. Over on the other side of the airport, the Delta counters have also been busy. And it's so interesting to look up and you see the screen's black and there's some type of message that just says recovery, as if the system that the screens use is trying to troubleshoot something. Passengers over there also confused with what's going to happen. The airlines keep telling passengers to check any updates on the apps, but some of the apps, according to passengers, aren't working. So that's the current situation here at Atlanta International, Anna.
And so, Brian, what more do we know about the cause of this outage and why it's had such a sweeping impact? We're talking not just airports, hospitals, 911 services, banks.
Yeah, well, it has to do with a security patch that this company called CrowdStrike was trying to push out to Microsoft computers. So this doesn't impact Apple or other types of operating systems. Basically, what happened is that companies that contract this company called CrowdStrike to essentially securitize their systems to make sure that they're not hackable, well, apparently that patch had an issue, and it basically bricked computers around the world that had an attachment to the Microsoft operating system. Now, it came up in the form of that blue screen that Guad was actually just showing in Atlanta, where it's basically a sad face, and it says your device ran into a problem and needs to restart. We're just collecting some error info, and then you can restart. This has been happening around the world, and as we're kind of waking up across America, we're starting to assess the damage to all the companies that have these computers that have used this third-party software. Now, the CEO of CrowdStrike, George Kurtz, did speak to today earlier this morning. Take a listen to his apology and his explanation for what happened.
We're deeply sorry for the impact that we've caused to customers, to travelers, to anyone affected by this. The system was sent an update, and that update had a software bug in it and caused an issue with the Microsoft operating system. And we identified this very quickly and remediated the issue. And as systems come back online, as they're rebooted, they're coming up and they're working.
So CrowdStrike is saying that it was their problem, and they also clarify, Anna, that this was not a hack. They say that they have a fix out there, but again, they have to work with all those companies that use CrowdStrike and Microsoft to essentially restart and reboot those operating systems to get everyone back on track.
So when will there be a fix? Any timeline?
That's the challenge here. So CrowdStrike says that their fix is in, but again, if you're thinking about how they plug into Microsoft computers, if you're an airline that uses Microsoft that also protected themselves with CrowdStrike, well, this push might mean that you might have to manually restart all of those systems. I've talked with some folks even at hospitals who have said they've had to basically cancel appointments for the day. They're advising people, if it's not an emergency situation, not to come to the hospital, but they're trying to figure out how they can access patient records if they can't even boot up their computers. Right now, there are some instances where IT is having to go to computer by computer on an individual basis to restart it. You imagine how long that could take at a hospital or at a large organization. Even here at NBC, we were having some of these blue screens of death issues. Yeah. This has been happening in many industries across the world. I think that's what makes this such an alarming situation.
Really frustrating, really impactful. Thank you so much, Brian Chum and Guad Venegas.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.